Good morning, folks. Mark Frederic, Le Chocolat Anglais. Nice to see you again today. Excuse me. Oh dear. Apologies for coughing. It's every single day. Let me start again. Good morning. Nice to see you again today. Today I want to cover Pate de Campagne. A French pate, of course, and just to explain its translation and to offer you some tips in order to maybe improve your recipe. If you already make fantastic, pate de campagne, then well done. So, what is pate de campagne? Well, it's the closest translation is pate of the countryside. However, in English, that doesn't quite work. It's okay. The best translation for pate de campagne in English would be farmhouse pate. I know farmhouse doesn't fit with campagne meaning countryside. However, it rolls off the tongue better. Farmhouse pate. It kind of tells you where in your country this pate is being put together. So you could give it many names. Just country pate, countryside pate, but the farmhouse one tends to send a message to people. Oh yeah, I know exactly the style of pate that is likely to be. I do apologise. So, what tips can I offer you? Well, all depends on what you put in to your pate de campagne as to what you can do and when to do it, type of thing. So, roughly speaking, a pate de campagne would be just a pork and liver pate. Onions are always used, and if you're using onions, the best thing to do with that is mince it. But you could even, or you should soften them, and put them in a frying pan and saute them until they become translucent and soft, and then mince them and mince it through with the pork meat, because it's invariably made with pork meat, and get that fine paste. And you can add half of your livers to the pork meat so that it all gets mixed through, and then you end up with a nice colour of your paste. Then with the remainder of your liver, if you're mincing, you then want to mince your liver on a larger mincing plate. So, for example, you could be doing your pork paste through a 6mm mincer head, or smaller, or you're putting it through twice even. But when it comes to the liver, you only do it once, and then you put it through a larger plate. Now, invariably, that is an 8mm or a 10mm. So what you get there is little nuggets within your finished pate, and they stand out, and they look really attractive, and immediately it spells pate de campagne. The minute you see it, you think, yeah, that's a pate de campagne. Now, you can line your pate with coal fat, if you wish, or not at all, nothing, or with streaky bacon. And very often it's found with streaky bacon. So you get yourself a tureen to use, and line that with your covering, or what your covering is going to be. So it's either nothing, or it's coal fat, or streaky bacon. So there are variations of the recipe, and normally speaking, the seasonings would be salt, pepper. Sometimes that's just it, or salt, pepper, and a bit of warmth, a bit of heat. Not too much, and that would be some form of paprika. Usually, usually a sweet paprika, a dulce. So you can put in smoked paprika if you wish, but you just want that little gentle touch if you're going to add any at all. You can add other things if you wish. It's entirely up to you. That's the description, at Farmhouse Pate. You can put whatever you've got available and put it in, and it's still a Pate de Campagne. There's no strict rules to the recipe, what should go in and what you should keep out, etc. The other tips I can offer you, if you're adding cream, some heavy cream, because you might be on a dairy farm or whatever, that will certainly add another level to your pate. And I prefer to have heavy cream in my build-up of a pate. And if you're going to add nuts, it could be that time of year like now, autumn stroke winter, where you're walking around the fields and the countryside lanes and things, and you're collecting yourself various nuts. Just remember the hard nuts that you may wish to put in could do with being marinated in the heavy cream, maybe overnight before you put your pate together. That will just help soften the bite. When you're using walnuts, for example, they tend to be all right put into the mix as they are, because when you go through your pate, small pieces of walnut are a good bite. You don't have any issues. But if you was going to make a pork and pistachio pate, and there you could do with marinating or soaking the pistachios, just so as there's less of a hard bite in your pate. It's a lot softer because of the marinade, but there's still quite a bit of firmness in there still when you put your pate together. So there's a few little, tips there you can use. So where else can I tell you about it? Well, you can use any form of vessel, but what I tend to do, I use like Pyrex ware. I'm not associated to any brands, by the way. This is not a Pyrex, I don't think, or is it? Yes, it is a Pyrex. Yeah. I've got several types of these, and so you can make it in there. So you can just imagine your streaky bacon line in there. Looks magnificent actually when you can see it in glass. And the other ones, which I haven't got here, are the Le Crusoe, the smaller ones, the Le Crusoe Castellan with a lid, for making pate. They're just the bee's knees, and they'll last you a lifetime, I tell you. And if you're in the trade, that's, in some ways, that's what you want to be going for. And then you can regulate the cooking and the finishing of the pate by, lid on, lid off, and Bob's your uncle. So to finish your pate, you could allow the natural fats within the meat, because you want to choose pretty fatty pork for your mix. That may rise up to the surface of the finished pate and just give you a light covering. But if you want to keep it for any length of time, then you need to increase the depth of the fat on the top, and that way it'll the shelf life will increase. So that's a good thing. Now you can keep it as part of the serving when you take it out of the tureen, or you can skim it off before taking the actual meat out. It's entirely up to you. Clarified butter. So if you can't get hold of clarified butter, then maybe some ghee. That's pretty much the same thing, and or just butter alone, melted butter, will do it for a short length of time, and then just cover the top, and that's really nice. Or you may want to get into gelatine, so you can flavour your gelatine. You can use alcohol if you like alcohol. I know I do, and I like my gelatine flavoured, with alcohol, almanac and things like this. this. It's, you know, really complementary to the whole pate itself. So you can do that. And if you are using alcohol, you could think about your nuts. If you're using nuts, they could be marinated in the alcohol, you know, to soften the bite of the nuts that you put in. So just for those hard nuts, you know, all right. So, but I tend not to use nuts in my pates. No real reason. It's not my priority, you know. But I must say the pork and pistachio patties look magnificent, and I've made them in the past. I used to sell them, and for those customers, you know, they looked $1 million. I have to say, it just wasn't my number one choice, you know. So all what's left, you know, it's always nice to use a bit of curing salt when you're putting your seasons together. That helps to give colour to your meat, get that nice pink touch, and it helps to accentuate the colour of the liver and so forth. So which is really, really good. Pate is one of my favourite products, you know. If you see the words pate en croûte, all right, that just means pate in pastry. So a bit like a beef Wellington, you know, that's what a beef Wellington is, you know, it's a pate en croûte, believe it or not. So it doesn't matter what the, you know, the filling is, as it were, but if it's wrapped, as long as it's a meat filling. Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be meat, actually. It could be vegetables, seafood, anything. But your you know, your meat side of things, your fillings, you know, that's your pate. But ideally, it needs to be like a farce, but there's no strict rules on that. But that's what it tends to be. Sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. I can't help myself. I just get into it. Stop bloody going off. I haven't got a pate de Campagne with large pieces of liver, which I'd really like to show you. I haven't made one, and neither have I made this, if I tell you the truth. But this is one I bought locally, and a pate de champignon, so with mushrooms, okay. But the same tip is applied there. They've hand chopped the mushrooms and put them in the mix towards the end, a bit like hand chopping your liver. Now, I prefer to hand chop my liver into small pieces, like an 8mm or a 10mm size of, if you was to mince them. So if you're making a lot of pates, if you're in a butchery charcuterie shop, then you probably haven't got time to hand chop. But if you're at home, you do have the time, and that's when they look at the best. And this is exactly what's happened here. Is the mushrooms have been hand chopped and then put in, and there's one or two very, very fine pieces of liver in there. Don't know if you can see it, but they looks like they've gone through a fine plate mincer to me, because of their uniform size. But they do display that it's you know, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's insinuating that this is a pate de Campagne, or a form of, a variety of, because they're all different. You know, you go from this house to that farmhouse over there across the road, and the two pates can be completely different. You know, so don't get hung up on what it should be and not. So just make your own versions. Anyway, like I said, that's a shop bought one, and here I've got some actually out on some toast, because I like it on toast, because you need to be serving your pate at room temperature, and by using warm freshly baked bread is really nice, and the heat of the freshly baked bread or the toast, because it's got that little bit of residual heat, helps to insinuate, is that the right word? Anyway, it helps to elevate the taste profiles of the pate. Don't serve it chilled. Don't go to the fridge, take it out, serve a portion, and let people try and enjoy it, because they won't. No, not as much as if you'd got it out earlier, a bit like a wine or a cheese. Get it out of the fridge about a good hour before you need it. Allow it to come up to room temperature or body temperature. That's the best way to be eating a pate. And and I've just happened to put it on a slice of toast, and I've cut all the crusts off today and just cut the toast into 3, just to show, it look how nice it can be. So this served up with a few pickles of some sort, like cornichons, and sorry, I couldn't resist, and go down really, really well. So what else can I tell you? Not a lot else really. Just a few friendly tips you may wish to use, you may not. I just want to thank you for watching the video. For some of you, I hope you find something interesting or something new, as in information from this. So yeah, try and stay as artisan and as true to yourself as you possibly can. Give pates a go. I love what I could describe as soft charcuterie, and pate falls into that category. I adore it. Far more than what I call hard charcuterie, like saucisson sec, which is like a salami, that type of thing. Don't get me wrong, don't mind the salami, but give me some soft charcuterie any day, any day. And rillette de pork, Pate de Campagne. What? Can't beat it. You just can't beat it. Anyway, I want to finish this and get myself organised for the day. Thanks for tuning in. Please pop down there and buy me a coffee if you don't mind. If you wish to help support these video tutorials, tips, whatever you want to describe them as, and if you don't, that's fine. And till the next time, thank you. Toodaloo.